Good evening, fellow citizens. I come to you this evening to present to you what I call the real state of the nation address. I know you have been waiting for this moment to sum up all that I have seen on my national campaign. Tonight, you have it. And I will be very forthright with you on the frustrations I have been met with during my tour over the 1,248 communities across Ghana. Let me give you a brief background about my motivations for my bid to rescue Ghana from economic slavery and crisis and set you on the path to your economic freedom. When I was 8 years old, life seemed very simple to me. My days revolved around waking up, going to school, coming back home, deciding what to eat, fixing my homework, and figuring out how to play with my friends. But as I grew older, reality began to set in. By the time I turned 9, I had started to realize something I hadn't noticed before. My single mother might be struggling financially. The clues were subtle but unmistakable. My classmates often had things I could only dream of, and for the first time, I understood that our circumstances were different. Our families do a good job of sheltering children from difficulties. I didn't realize back then, but little did I know that every year I would encounter new challenges that required solutions. Each problem I faced became an opportunity to learn, and it started to shape me through experience. I see these experiences as the foundation of wisdom. Wisdom that only grows when reflect on our past. Now, I understand that problems are natural. It's a part of life. And solutions are what propel us forward into maturity. By embracing these two principles, acknowledging problems and seeking solutions, I have continued to grow, using each challenge as building block for personal development. This gives us a chance to create our paths. I didn't know exactly where I was headed, but I began to notice that my thoughts were no longer just about myself. They often extended to the people around me. I saw this clearly when I realized my mom couldn't afford what other mothers could. This realization pushed me to think deeply, and over time, thinking became more than just a habit. It became a discipline. It transformed me from being merely a talkative to what I know now or call thinkative. Tonight, I stand before you addressing a nation I'm part of, rooted in the soil that shaped me. This is the land I come from, the land I will live for, and whether I like it or not, the land I will one day die for. It is here, at this moment, that I aim to describe and define the true state of the nation, the reality of the place we call home. The people have shaped me, and the people I strive to shape. These are the ones I stand before today. These are my people, the ones who define me as much as I hope to define them. What brought me here? Was it the path of a worker, an entrepreneur, or a leader, or perhaps an industrialist, or an economist? What truly brought me here is life. Life, with all its challenges and lessons, has been my guide. And over time, I have grown not just into a man, but also into a father, a husband, and ultimately a leader. I've come to realize that my responsibilities extend far beyond the shelter where I was raised. They transcend into the nation I call home. This understanding has me, or maybe I don't merely have a job, but it has shown me true understanding that my job is that I have a vision. I have a mission to redeem a nation that I belong to uplift the people I live among, and to rebuild a country that has stumbled and struggled to develop. Fellow citizens, join me as we reflect on the just ended 276 constituency tour, a journey that has exposed to me the real state of our nation. The struggles, the pollution, the pain, the agony, the deprivation, and the reasons why our economy has never been built. I first of all would like to start with the philanthropical works that we did. As I went on a tour, I was moved to help alleviate the sufferings of the people by helping them beginning economic ventures such as crop farming, sheep farming or rearing, fish farming. I did some guinea fowl farming too, boreholes for potable drinking water. Ghana, this was hard to behold, the sorry state of our country. Now I realized that in our political world, we normally pay people so they can vote for us. We normally invest in ourselves, in our political parties, and not in the people. This leads the people into corruption. I thought that I could change the political narrative by using the 276 constituency tour to actually harness the people and the way they live and bring their hope back. So I invested the money that I will use for most of the billboards and flags and so many other things and paying people to pay to vote for me rather into the people. And we ended up giving bicycles. We ended up giving families farms, sheep farming, so they can start creating their own business. You know, we did a lot of fish farming in Adan. Was very interesting to see that 2,000 fishes can become 100,000 one day for people to live on. You know, we did coconut farming, we did avocado, a lot of things. But that was because of the situation of this country. Out of the 276 constituencies, I was surprised. And I'm about to share with you that I have seen what a lot haven't seen. Let me now lead you into some of the challenges, the opportunities I saw in some of the regions too. Let me start from Eastern. I left Accra, and the first region was Eastern, where my tour really began. I visited Nsawam at Duajiri constituency, and that's where I found a village called Opari Kro. That was where I met my new friend, George, an 80-year-old blind man who have, or should I say, visibly impaired, pardon me, who lived in this particular home for 65 years without electricity. He actually attended the same school, primary school, with the late Jerry John Rawlings, our president. May he so rest in peace. Right there, the level of social inequality became apparent to me. In the Eastern region, I found the potential of the Afram Plains as a place capable of feeding the entire continent of Africa. Meanwhile, the people of Afram Plains, north and south, live in an abject poverty with close to no hope of prosperity. I always believe that if we turn each region around, like we said in our 12 pillars, each region will contribute to the success of our economy. So for me, Eastern region, where you have Kwawu, you have Koforidia, you have Diamond, you have all of this, but the people are jobless, was my first warning in a tour. But I was yet to wait to see more of what is going to happen. Now moving to Ashanti region was after I left the Eastern. I went to Ashanti region and Bono region. Ashanti region is by far maybe, I stand to be corrected, the region with the most constituencies, meaning that it could be the biggest region, if I'm correct. And it has a lot of potential. In farming, in mining, Ashanti region is worth billions of dollars. But we saw a lot of poverty within the regions. And you can see the development in Ashanti region. I thought that without industrialization, without helping these people to know what cocoa can do, it's going to be very difficult for them to be built again as a constituency becoming a state or a mini city to feed their people. I also saw a lot of potential, enormous potential avenues. I mean, River Pra and Tano, it's some of the biggest rivers in this country. I know you remember when I say I'm going to bring the sea to Kumasi. Well, that's exactly where it has to come from. You know, bringing it from Pra is already into the sea, so it's a matter of dredging it and letting it go into Kumasi and letting the sea come in there. But not for just leisure. It will be for logistics. It will be for irrigation. It will be for a lot of things. This will position the regions to control a third of the projected 4.7 trillion national economic output. And assuming all these attributable reserves are harnessed, it will unite the regions. That's why I laid a request before Osajifo Ajimai Bedu to reconcile with our dear father, Asante Hine Otumfuo. And I want to thank these two leaders for understanding that unity is stronger than separation. Today, we're looking at the Bono region, which has 5 regions of the north. Before we go to the north regions, I would like to talk a little bit more about the Bono regions and what I saw there in Techiman and all other places. When I combine it with Ashanti, I know that the two can really help Ghana to revive its economy again. Before I go on, I would like to comment on all the women in the north. They have held these regions down. They work non-stop by traveling unimaginably long distance to defend for their families. It was here that I met Auntie Samantha, a woman in Wale Wale who has used kulikuli. I don't know if you all remember kulikuli, to cater for 7 children. Her story, it's impeccable. Just 50 meters from Samantha's house was a group of men who used imported thread to sew fugu and kente, but using a self-crafted wooden equipment wouldn't put them on a commercial level. With a lot of determination to work, I could see clearly that they are not equipped to do so. I believe that industrialization can help expand this talents and harness the skills in this area. Just when I saw that we've seen enough, I also witnessed something with my own eyes. I saw a school where children had no chairs to sit on and tap water to drink. This blew my mind in a negative way. Dear citizens, these were all in the hometown of a man who has been also a vice president for 8 years. He had been touted as the economic whiz kid. I believe that what I also saw in Tamale South constituency, I chanced on a community called Kadula, where we went to donate a borehole for people to get clean water to drink. This is where I met a kid that was fetching water from the same color as the Galamsey water. And I was wondering what they were going to use it for. But that was for drinking. Right in my sight, it is a constituency controlled by a former majority leader in Parliament. In Bole, Bamboy, the hometown of our ex-president, who is also part of the candidate competition, I was touched to establish a guinea fowl farm for 5 families, as I could not stand the poverty I saw. Fortunately, none of the guinea fowls has flown away. They're all intact. And I pray that they multiply to become thousands. Like Bole, I didn't leave the other deprived communities without a project. I built a borehole in Kadula, in many other places, to provide clean drinking water for people. There were hospitals who didn't have water in Wale Wale. This I did in many other areas. But I question myself, if all these leaders cannot simply cater for their constituencies, how can we entrust the whole nation in their hands? This is a question I was asking myself, but now I think it has become a public question for all Ghanaians, and I hope we find the right answer. Here's a 2 months that I have dedicated to travel around my country, and not only to do a campaign, but also to research, the potential opportunities in these areas. So now I'm having to cross from the north. After going through Tamale, Bolega, in the upper east, upper west, northeast, coming down to Savannah, I realized that there was a pathway that takes you to the Voltarian sector, which is Oti. And now we were going back on the river Afram, which would take us to Oti, Dambai. This region was highly deprived. I saw the worst primary schools here. The teachers did not have an office to sit. The headmaster sat under a tree. The kids, the children, they all sat on the floor, and there were no chairs. Now I wish that I have videos of this, and I would have loved Ghana to see this state. I don't know if it's so horrifying, reasons why my team is not showing, but this was very disturbing in Dambai. And the next day, we were going to campaign in the market, which was the largest market I've been. It was the biggest. At this market, didn't have one shelter. Everybody sat under the sun. Everyone, single person. And the whole floor was dusty. But I looked in front of me, and I saw a huge river, and I started to envision, why does this river have only one ferry? That people are coming from places like the Yam City and bringing food to Dambai. And all of a sudden, my anger kind of quenched my hunger for Dambai. I realized that this is a huge potential, a huge opportunity that we can actually, based on our cross-border water transportation, we can turn the Dambai market into factories and manufacturing spaces and add the market into it and have over 12 ferries on the same river that can feed everywhere along the nation. Now I had to move from there after crossing from Dambai and visiting Jasikain and all the communities in these constituencies. And I asked myself, why did they separate Volta from Oti when they both have beautiful landscape and a water connecting, which is the lake and Afram, and it connects to more than 7 regions in the country, but yet there is only one ferry that is feeding this nation. It makes me keep asking myself the question, what is Ghanaians doing? What do we call investment? Why are we not using these things that we have? And in fact, this is the only ferry you see on our farm water, and see how huge this water is. And it took us only 20 minutes to cross from one part to the other. When I got to Ho, and I got to other parts of Volta region, it was the same thing on the lake. In fact, they didn't even have a ferry. They had a canoe with a boat. People have no access to capital, no government support. Hohoi and Ho could have been like Beverly Hills, but it's well underdeveloped. Cheddar was one of the favorite and the best landscape I saw in Ghana. In fact, Cheddar has a lagoon that meets the sea, a multi-billion-dollar development opportunity that will make Ghana have the likes of Miami and Dubai, the biggest tourist attraction. Talking about all of these places, we were not stopping. We were just moving through everywhere. And the next place we were supposed to be going from Volta after we finished OT was the Western and the Western North. The Western North and the Western. Prestia, Takwa, Asangrogwa, yes, and Wassa Ekropon. Some of the names I've forgotten. Please pardon me, but it was a lot of names. But I remember Wassa Ekropon very well. Prestia, we had over 5,000 youth, facing us, looking for opportunity, and they were expecting us. I can never, forget that very moment, how we were welcomed. But the thing is, we drove over 2 hours on untarred road. We saw that the largest gold mines owned by foreigners were situated in these areas. But worse roads, highly polluted environment. In fact, this is the richest region in the country, the Western. Our research says that it has over 1.7 trillion attributable reserves and arable lands for farming. But I was surprised how it was being used. It made me wonder, where did we go wrong? Where did we go wrong in Ghana? Now, I came to Central Region, and now I'm in Accra. Central Region, I did see one of the best palaces in Africa, in Central Region. But I believe that the value in Central Region has not been harnessed properly. The point, to summarize what I'm saying, is that I have discovered more poverty. I have discovered more pain, more struggle, pollution, and no hope with this trip. And I've realized that our leaders haven't invested in the people, in the constituencies, 276 constituencies. I've realized that that's what forms the entire parliamentarians. Well, tonight, I want to tell everyone that is listening to me that I've had the opportunity to travel around Ghana, and I've had the chance to see what we live for and how bad we have treated our people. And that did not bring me down, but rather it inspired me and made me realize that we have work to do. It doesn't matter. And I'm not here to bring down any party in the past. And I'm not here to also talk about the past that we've done wrong. I'm here to talk about the best of solution for us to go forward, to be able to build our nation and give opportunity equally to the citizens of this country. I believe that they also deserve a fair share of their own equity. The new force, we stand for these priorities, to empower people and to create jobs for them. On that note, fellow citizens, in the next 48 hours, a few of us will be going to the polls. Our bold security officers, our dedicated ambulance service workers, the customs service, the prisons, the immigration, and the Ghana Armed Forces shall be exercising their franchise. I want to first of all thank them wholeheartedly for their dedication to this nation. I have personally been a big beneficiary of the selflessness of the police service and the army this year, but I am saddened by your mere salary, poor pensions and benefits, poor accommodations. During my policy lunch in September, I spoke to you about the SNIT revolution, which is part of the 12 pillars. You can access it. A total restructuring of the SNIT into a state insurance corporation that allows you to make claims after 5 years. These claims can be made against your accommodation, your health, and your children's education, or even yourself. I've also told you about my commitment to increasing your salaries drastically by ushering you all into the 16th regional industrial revolution. I know this salary is not enough until it moves from low income to mid income. Our economy cannot be sustained. I want you soldiers to manufacture your own uniforms and also the uniforms for the police of this country, and because of that, and be the CEOs of the manufacturing that I will introduce into these governmental institutions. Construction companies, the army, the defense center can help. The police center can help. I want you to be a part of the economic development of this nation and not just security officers. Under my leadership, there will be many other avenues for you to generate extra revenue, income, so that you will not be forced to be puppets of any ruling government, but truly serve the national interest. Lastly, I want you to have what you truly deserve when you go for peacekeeping. You receive some of the smallest stipends in Africa, and I'm going to end that. Now to our media men and journalists. I appreciate your efforts. Yes, I know the extent to which some media houses and platforms have gone to block my messages, stifle my policies, withhold my videos from being aired, and perhaps taking money to work against me. But I still empathize with you. Your power has been taken from you by mere politicians. The very foundation of your institution has been broken. You should have been the voice of the people, but they turned you into the voice of politicians. I want to tell you that you control the sentiments of the people, and that is a very delicate position. You are the press, and you decide for the president. Kindly do not mislead or misinform people. The media should rise above all the controls of politicians and commercial interests and ensure that we work to save our nation together. I will see and ensure to it that we expand your industry so you can create revenues from other avenues as well. My message to the disabilities, my brothers and sisters, you have been victims of motor accidents, misdiagnosis, or have been born with some deformities. They call you disabled. I call you differently abled. I'm a man of action. I empathize with you. You have seen what I've done for blind friend of mine, Brown, who has sponsored to become a journalist. You have seen a set of business I've set up for my friends. They call one leg, a man who battled with weak limbs, but has now built his own house and business through Uber. I come with equity, equality, and empowerment. And I want to wish all you special people that are voting well, that It's time that we vote wisely to determine the future of our country. And it's no more time for us to vote based on parties. Let's stand for our nation and our country. This gives me the chance, after the 276, maybe talk about parliamentary procedures. Fellow citizens, many people have asked me how I would work with no MPs on my side in Parliament. I chose not to answer it publicly. Today, I am going to. In fact, or should I say, as a matter of fact, this is a unique opportunity for us to unite the nation and to work in the national interest. I realized when I was doing the 276 that every single constituency that has an MP who makes the laws for this constituency has not seen to it the laws being effective. And that's why all the constituencies were undeveloped. These are the same people that are our parliamentarians. But I have no problem with that. The good thing is, today we might have 276 parliamentarians. If one party wins, their parliamentarian stands behind them, and the other one fights them. But here's the unique opportunity that I'm about to share with Ghanaians in the position that I stand in today as New Force. Have you ever thought of if Ghana had a third party to stand up against this duopoly, and one becomes a president, and the two duopolies also become a parliamentarian members? We will have no choice, but for the sake of Ghana, we would have the bargaining chip to come together to do what is right for Ghana, more so than our suggestions being leaned onto one side. If one party wins, then their parliamentarians are supporting them and fighting the other one. We have faced this problem for over 32 years. My point that I'm making is, as a young man, I'm not here to fight my elders, but I'm here to add value to the society I belong to. This is an opportunity that we have, a bargaining chip, to collate, to merge all these parliamentarians and the new leaders of the new generation, so we can go ahead and harness Ghana together. Well, I like to say that with all this being said, I have a surprise for Ghanaians. Often, one would have expected it to be me unveiling another character from the New Six. Fortunately and unfortunately, not tonight. I'm not unveiling any character, but they will be unveiled sooner than later. It's just that I'm glad I've been able to unveil our current state of the nation and unveiled some of the truth that has been hidden from us as a country. But this gives me the chance to bring out the surprise of our new manifesto. Fellow citizens, dear countrymen and women, help me launch the Galamsey Manifesto. Well, thank you, dear countrymen and women. On my tour going around this country, what really broke my heart the most was seeing our lands and waters completely destroyed without shame. The use of state machinery to protect the perpetrators of this and the looming danger that beholds Ghanaians living in this community and the entire nation as a whole. Dear citizens, we have an emergency. This has led me to find a solution, the only viable solution, without which we can never overcome the situation. I may now present to you the Galamsey Manifesto. For me, I see yesterday's problem becoming tomorrow's opportunity. In the 60s, Lee Kuan Yew of Singapore turned the water problem of Singapore into a national asset. And that changed the entire Singapore. That was maybe close to 70 years ago. He was the first prime minister in 1959, just around the same time as Kwame Nkrumah. They all started together. Today, Singapore is one of the best countries, well developed in the world. And it all came from the Singapore Enterprise Industrial Team, developing the entire nation. I have a vision, and this vision to turn Ghana better than some of the witness countries that has been built in the last century. I'm very proud of mentors and leaders like this. Well, let's get back to their manifesto. Why did I decide to do a manifesto for Galamsey? Because I wanted to give you a national asset, not just the 12 pillars that will rebuild the building as Ghana, but I also wanted to give you the inside information, the solutions to do what Lee Kuan Yew did for his people and for his country by turning his problems or his crisis into an opportunity and letting that become a national development that will be globally recognized and appreciated. My vision is to do that for Ghana and go beyond the borders of Ghana and help Africa. I believe we Africans deserve better. We deserve more. We deserve to do what the Western world, Asia world, and many other continents on this planet Earth are doing. So, let me start by introducing the people that caused the problem and how the problem was caused. They said the only way to have the best solution for a problem is to go back to the roots of the problem. So we went back to the roots and realized that the imperialists, who are the international influence, and they work through multinational companies. They are the imperialists. And then coming down from the imperialists is the cartel. The cartel is the government, and of course, in the government, you have the politicians and the chiefs who are taking royalties from being the landowner. And when you move down from the cartels, you go down to the mafias. The mafias are the Galamseys. I just want to explain to Ghanaians that these local Galamseys kingpins are using cyanide and mercury to wash the sand. I want to just wait on this part a bit, that the three things I've mentioned, the imperialists, and then the cartels, and the mafias. The imperialists are the ones controlling the hard rock mining. The cartels are the ones controlling the colluvial mining. So that is the politicians and the chieftaincies. And the mafias are the basic Ghanaians who did not get any job and started to do alluvial mining within all these constituencies. This mafia state is undissolvable unless we apply this plan, which is in this manifesto. So there are three types of mining. You have the hard rock mining, which comes from upstream mining. And then you have the colluvial mining, which comes from midstream. Then you have the alluvial mining, which comes from low stream. I would like to say that these three things is just like how we take oil from the water as crude oil, and then we refine it in a refinery as refinery process, and then bring it to low oil market companies to sell the fuel. That's the same thing that is happening in the mining world. But this time, it's destroying our country because of the process. So I know what I'm saying is it's not going to be likely for people, but this manifesto is the only thing that will save this nation, because I can see the opportunity, the vision of Ghana becoming the star of Africa, the powerhouse, if we can go into hard rock mining ourselves and start to create reserves. If we can go into colluvial ourselves and alluvial. So that brings me to a solution. The solution will be based on investment and development. Well, I'd like to start by an investment that I have as a vision for the country, which is water purification. This water purification, all our water bodies in this country, completely destroyed. Now, the water purification, together with the plants of recycling, will cost us 4.5 billion to purify all the water. And if we don't, we are destroying the lands. We are turning all the lands that we grow our crops on into a poisonous land. Very soon, we will not be able to have water in this country, and we will have problems in crop farming because the land has begun to be destroyed and is moving very fast, rapid. Now, if you look at the numbers I was just showing you, 4.5 billion, and the returns of this investment in 10 years is going to give us 32.1 billion, which is 200 tons of gold. Up to date, Ghana, we still don't have that gold in our reserves. We had 7 point something tons, and recently they said a few has been added. Whether over 10, I'm yet to find out. But 200 tons secures you 32 point something billion sitting as our reserves in 10 years, just by this investment. But there is more to this investment that is coming. We are going to use this investment as purifying the water with extra plants. The plants are here. So these plants are going to do three things. It's going to take the water, it's going to purify the water, and then it's going to extract the poison out of it, which is cyanide and mercury. But here's an interesting thing that we found. We did the research and realized that once you are able to extract the cyanide, you can turn it to ammonia. Ammonia means you're going into the process of urea. And urea is fertilizer. Currently, we import fertilizers for all farmers. This could be one of our biggest opportunities in lifetime, because now the one problem that we had has come to solve all the problems. Now we're taking the cyanide and the mercury and processing it with some sodium and turning it into fertilizers. Not only would have the purified water gone back into the grounds by building the biggest irrigation system that will harness our agriculture and make us become the number one food producers in Africa with all our water bodies. This vision, it took Galamsey's problem for us to discover this opportunity. As I'm saying today, we will turn this around, and Ghana will have the most jobs, because the recycling plant will be the beginning of our industrial power and our scientific research to find out what we can use anything in Ghana to do, from the plastic on the floor to the clay and to the poison in the water. And not to forget, this same water, we have no choice but to purify it, because our second pillar in this country is to connect all the waters and make it build a water transportation to connect the regions and unify us in doing business. 200 tons of gold as reserves, still not enough. The Galamsey Manifesto has a plan to build our own upscale mining, which is more upstream mining, mid-scale, colluvial mining, and then low-scale mining. But whatever water that is being purified is going into farming. You need to put those pipes onto the ground, the pipelines, to create that. So there will be a whole circulation of manufacturing chain order. You are looking at a new Ghana being transformed through this. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about this opportunity of the Galamsey being turned into an industrial hub within the regions. What I saw in a lot of places in Ashanti region, there was almost every 2-3 miles, there was a valley with water that is poisoned, and people in the water, sort of, washing the water with poison. So this is some kind of issue that it will be so difficult to resolve it if we don't give back to society. This plant is going to create jobs for the same people who were doing Galamsey. They will probably be paid more than they were receiving from chasing the gold crumbs. Purification, which is going to be 4.5 billion, would also create tens of thousands of jobs within the nation itself. So it's not like the 4.5 billion is going out of the country. The 4.5 billion would be payment that will go back onto Ghanaians as workers, whilst we turn that into billions of dollars. You saw it yourself, 32.1. As such, other ideas around this gold industry, I like to say that the imperialists, who are companies like, or imperialists who support companies like Ashanti Goldfields, you might never know who the owner is because it says Ashanti Goldfields, or Goldfields, or many other fields. They all amount to trillions of dollars. When you go back just 40 years, 4 decades, in 8 to 9 regions, this amount of wealth has been extracted. We decided to do a bit of research and not investigate them, but it's public information to find out more. That how are these people surviving and investing in our country and digging a hole, cracking a mountain, taking all the gold out, and not even covering it? I'm sure you saw it in my presentation for the Galamsey Part 2 video. Who is sponsoring them? I realize that most of these companies are also getting funds from financial institutions like IMF. My vision, my mission is to write off our debt with IMF, because we don't need to owe them, but we can simply have international commercial relationships with them. If they're interested in gold, they can definitely buy from us once we produce it ourselves. And not to say that we don't want any foreigner to also mine here, but we just don't want any foreigner to extract from here. And we don't get the skill set. That's why we're still washing our waters with sand, looking for gold crumbs. Why the top people, they go straight to the rock determine where the gold is, put the machines up, cut, and take the value out straight away. When we try to get value, we destroy the whole country. This tells me that we don't have the skill set, and our mindset for creating wealth is still slavery. You can see it there. Because we are digging the soil and washing it with our hands. They are using machines to excavate, to crack into our stones. I stand here today because industrialization is the only way out for us as a nation to build ourselves. If we don't put this in place, and I don't just have to be president to do that, but I'm already on a mission to make sure that this is accomplished for Ghana and for the rest of African countries. We live by machines. We wake up in the morning and iron our clothes with machines. We are on the phone, it's a machine. We drive to work, it's a machine. None of these machines that we can build, and none of these machines that we are using. Over the tour in the 276, I realized that the most markets were on the roadside, and the most businesses were in the bush, where someone is excavating or moving the earth and extracting the wealth that we go back to either the IMFs or the World Bank to borrow for our economy. We cannot borrow money and fix our lands with it and pay our workers with it. We can only create wealth from what we have, from what belongs to us. And if we're able to turn it around, then we'll be in control of our wealth for the rest of our lives. Our children will adapt from it, they will learn from it, they will come with more skills, and there will be more intel to expand our vision. I have a vision, and I see Ghana being transformed to the likes of Dubai, America, and most of these Western countries that our children are running to, just to stop them from running away, because they don't come back anymore. And I don't see why we should harness and invest in our children, educate them, and somebody imports the talents from us, whilst we export the goods which they took the raw materials from us. It's a reverse cycle. And for that reason, the new force have come to give a fair share of our equity, a fair treatment of equality, and a fair way of treating building nation empowerment. I'd like to say thank you very much. In closing my address tonight, I want to take this opportunity to thank you all for your time. I thank you for the young people who supported me in my 276 constituency tour, the mothers, also some old people, and fathers, grandmothers. I was surprised. Genuinely, Ghanaians are good people. It's rather unfortunate that partisans or politicians have failed us. Our expectation of development is undermined by our own capacity and abilities. I'd like to say thank you to the regional coordinators too, the constituency executives, the electoral area comrades. It is now time to protect what we've worked for. We've worked so hard as a new force and as a new generational leaders. I would like to urge all of you to go out and vote peacefully. And after voting, Ghana as a nation, let's protect our ballot. Let's be reasonable, for this country is in shambles. Our economy is facing problems. Our currency is facing crisis. Our waters are polluted. The last thing we have left is our democratic constitution to govern the nation. And I'm urging the nation for us to do this peacefully so we can move forward and build our country and make it a better place and make Ghana great again. Thank you.